30 crows followed me like helium balloons on strings. What happened next still gives me chills. Let me start by saying, I never believed in omens, signs, or anything remotely supernatural. I'm a born skeptic. Logic, reason, evidence. That's how I've always made sense of the world. Which is probably why what happened to me that morning still sits uncomfortably in the back of my mind like an unresolved glitch in the Matrix. This happened about 6 years ago. I remember because it was a chilly spring morning, one of those in-between days where the wind still has teeth, but the sun's doing its best to push through. I was waiting for the city bus, as I always did, at the stop near my apartment. It was early, maybe 7:30 a.m., and I had earbuds in, sipping gas station coffee, lost in the mind-numbing comfort of routine. Nothing was out of the ordinary, at first. Just the usual street sounds, distant traffic, the rustling of leaves, the low murmur of other early risers. Then I noticed the silence. That's what caught me first, how suddenly and completely it all went quiet. No cars, no people, not even birdsong. The kind of silence that makes your skin itch because it feels wrong. I turned my head, instinctively scanning the area, and that's when I saw them. Crows. At first, it was just a few, maybe 5 or 6, gliding above the street about 2 blocks away. But they weren't acting like normal birds. They weren't just flying overhead or cawing or scavenging. They were following a car. A black sedan, nothing fancy. Driving at a normal speed, not suspicious in itself. But what was bizarre, no, what was impossible, was the way the crows were trailing it. Perfectly spaced. All of them flapping slowly, keeping even altitude and distance. Like they were tethered to the car on invisible 15-foot strings, bobbing and dipping slightly but never breaking formation. I blinked hard. Thought I must have misjudged the perspective. But no, the sedan turned a corner, and the whole murder of crows banked with it, synchronized like a flock of black kites. Now, I'm a rational person. My first thought? Someone's filming a movie or a weird art project. I looked around for cameras, crews, anything that might explain it. Nothing. Just me at the bus stop and a few people walking dogs or hurrying by, none of whom seemed to notice or care that a squadron of birds was casually shadowing a car like they were tethered drones. I pulled out my phone to take a video. Of course I did. But by the time I'd unlocked it and pointed the camera, they'd disappeared down the street. I even debated skipping the bus just to follow them on foot, but logic kicked in. Birds do weird things, I told myself. Maybe there was food on the roof. Maybe it's coincidence. Don't be ridiculous. So I waited. Bus came. Got on. End of story. Or it should have been. But 2 days later, it happened again. Same bus stop. Different time, a bit earlier, because I had a morning meeting. I wasn't even thinking about the crow thing anymore. But as I sipped my coffee and looked up from my phone, there it was again. A different car this time, red SUV, driving slowly down the street with a trail of black feathered shadows gliding behind it. I counted them. 30 damn crows. Again, perfectly spaced. Again, like they were tied to the bumper with long, loose strings. They moved as one. Turned as one. It was hypnotic. Unnatural. And this time? Other people noticed. A woman walking her dog actually stopped and stared. The dog whined and backed away, ears down. A guy on a bike nearly wiped out trying to rubberneck the scene. It wasn't just me. That gave me some relief, proof I wasn't hallucinating, but it didn't make it any less disturbing. That night, I Googled everything. Crows following cars. Flocks acting strange. Possible experiments. Urban myths. I went deep. Reddit, birdwatching forums, even weird conspiracy blogs. The closest I found were vague mentions of crows being unusually intelligent, recognizing human faces, holding grudges, forming tight-knit social groups. Some cultures see them as messengers, omens, even spirits of the dead. Still, none of it explained what I saw. I mentioned it offhand to a coworker. She laughed it off. Maybe you're the bird whisperer, she joked. Another guy suggested magnets or drones. One person, the only one who said it seriously, told me I should stop going to that stop for a while. Some things aren't meant to be followed, he said. Cryptic much? Weeks passed. I never saw the convoy again. But the image has stuck with me. Burned in, like an afterimage when you stare at the sun. And I'm not the kind of person to obsess over weird stuff, but I still think about it. The symmetry of it. The intentionality. Here's the kicker. Once, maybe a month after the second sighting, I was walking home late, not from the bus stop, just around my neighborhood, and I heard the unmistakable sound of wings above me. I looked up. A single crow. Just one. Flying low, slow, and perfectly in step with my pace. I stopped. It stopped midair, hovered for a beat, then perched on a telephone wire and just stared. I stared back. And I swear on everything I love, for one horrifying moment I felt like I was the one being studied. The bird cocked its head. Let out a low, gravelly caw. And then, as if I'd passed some sort of test, it took off and vanished into the dusk. No one will believe me. I barely believe myself. But that's what happened. I've since moved across town. Different route. No more weird sightings. But I still glance up sometimes, scanning the sky for dark wings and invisible strings. Just in case.
I thought I had a normal roommate, until I discovered he'd been living under my bed for months. This is not a joke. Police car light. Okay. Deep breath. I've never written anything like this before, and I don't know how to start except by saying, this is real. I swear on everything, I'm not trying to write creepypasta or get karma or whatever. I just need to get this out of my system because I still can't sleep. It's been 2 weeks since it happened and I still check under my bed 5 times a night like I'm 5 years old again. But maybe if I write it out, it'll stop replaying in my head. Maybe. So here's what happened. I, 27M, had this roommate, Brian, fake name, who moved in last October. We met on Facebook Marketplace. Actually, he was quiet, clean, polite in messages. He moved into the second bedroom of my apartment, no red flags. 4 months he was, just kind of there. We barely interacted. He said he worked night shifts at a data center, so I didn't see him often. I'd hear him coming around 6 a.m., shuffle around, sometimes shower, then sleep during the day. Seemed normal. He always paid rent on time via Venmo, never had guests over, didn't touch my stuff. Honestly, ideal roommate. But there were little things. Things I shrugged off at the time. Food would disappear from my part of the fridge. Not in huge amounts, like, a slice of cheese here, a protein bar there. I assumed maybe I just forgot I ate it. Then there were odd drafts sometimes in my room, like a window was open, but it never was. A couple of times I thought I saw movement in the mirror behind me, just in the corner of my eye, but when I turned, nothing. Again, I thought I was just tired or paranoid. You know how your brain makes up weird stuff when you live alone most of the time? That. Then there was this one night. I came home earlier than usual after a cancelled work dinner. The apartment was dead silent. As I put my keys down, I heard this tiny shuffle in my room, like someone adjusting their weight on wood. It was soft, almost nothing. But my gut clenched. I waited. Then I called out, "Brian?" No response. I opened my bedroom door. No one. I checked the closet. Empty. I even looked under the bed and joked to myself, haha, no monsters. There was nothing. Except. I swear to God, the smell under the bed wasn't normal. It was like sweat and something musty, like damp fabric. But again, I brushed it off. Maybe I needed to clean more. Fast forward to the night that finally cracked the illusion. It was 3:12 a.m. I woke up suddenly, no idea why. Just, heart pounding. Like my body knew something was wrong before my brain did. I sat up in bed, listening. Nothing. Dead silence. But I couldn't shake this feeling that something was off. I reached for my phone and the screen lit up the room just enough. That's when I saw it. A pair of eyes. Open. Under my bed. I froze. My mind couldn't process it at first. I thought it was a reflection. A trick of light. I leaned closer and the eyes blinked. IF **** King bolted. I didn't grab anything. Not my keys, not my phone charger, not my wallet. I ran out the door in pajamas and socks, flew down 3 flights of stairs, and just ran. I didn't even know where I was going. Ended up at a 24-hour Dunkin' about 10 blocks away, shaking like I'd seen a ghost. I must have looked insane. The girl at the counter gave me a cup of water and asked if I was okay. I wasn't. After about 20 minutes, I finally called the cops. I told them I thought someone had broken into my apartment and was hiding under my bed. They took me seriously, showed up, and checked the place out. Except when they got there, he was gone. They found signs someone had been living under the bed. Blankets. Empty snack wrappers. Even a flashlight taped to the bed frame aimed toward my face. Like he'd been watching me sleep. The worst part? Brian's room was empty. Mattress still made, nothing disturbed. His closet had clothes, but his laptop and essentials were gone. It was like he had vanished into thin air. Later that morning, I finally get a text from him. Brian, sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I just wanted to be close to you but didn't know how to say it. Please don't call the cops again. I stared at it for a long time, trying to process what the hell that even meant. Wanted to be close to me? What? Was he ever actually using his room? Or had he just pretended to for months while really sleeping under mine? I tried responding but his number was disconnected by the next day. When the cops ran a check on him, it turned out his real name wasn't even Brian. The ID he'd used to sign the lease was fake. Whoever he really was, he'd somehow created an entire persona, paid his half of rent in full for 7 months, just to be near me? Watch me. I still don't understand it. I've changed apartments. Got therapy. Installed cameras. I don't sleep without locking my bedroom door, even though I live alone now. I still get night terrors. Still wake up thinking someone's breathing under my bed. I threw the bed frame out, by the way. I sleep with my mattress on the floor now. Not ideal for dating, but at least there's no under. I haven't told many people. My mom thinks I exaggerated. My friends think I should write a book. But honestly, this didn't feel like a story. It felt like a slow-burning nightmare that I didn't realize I was in until it was too late. So yeah. That's my life now. If you're reading this and have a roommate you barely see, check under your bed. Seriously. You never think you're the one who ends up in stories like this. Until you are.
I lived an entire life with a wife and kids. Then a lamp snapped me back to reality. I don't even know where to begin. I've never posted something like this before, and honestly, I'm still trying to convince myself it even happened. But the line between dreams and reality feels so thin now, it's like paper stretched over a void, and I can't stop thinking about her, about them, about everything I lost the moment that lamp flickered. So here's what happened. It started 10 years ago. At least, in the other place, it was 10 years. Here, it was just seconds. Maybe minutes. I don't know. But I hit my head. Hard. I was helping my roommate move furniture in our shared apartment, ironic, since we were fighting about him not paying rent, and I was ready to tell him to get out. I remember we were wrestling a sofa through the doorway, and I tripped. Cracked my head against the corner of the coffee table. And then, nothing. Until everything. I woke up in a hospital bed. That's the first thing I remember clearly. The sterile white light. The soft beeping of machines. My own confusion as I stared at my reflection in a dark monitor and thought, I look older. And then a voice. A warm, familiar voice I didn't recognize at all. Babe, oh thank God, you're awake. She was crying. Her name was Lily. She had green eyes and messy brown hair and this tiny scar on her lip that she nervously touched when she was overwhelmed. I didn't recognize her. But she hugged me like I was the center of her universe. She held my hand like she'd held it 1,000 times before. And the doctors? They acted like it was normal. Post-traumatic amnesia, they said. It'll come back. It didn't. Not really. But what did come was a life. A whole damn life. I had a life. Lily was my wife. We had a little house on the edge of town, a golden retriever named Max, and 2 kids, Noah and Ellie. I taught high school history. My students called me Mr. J. We had barbecues on Sundays, dance parties in the kitchen, road trips in our beat-up Subaru. Every day was so real. The mundane, the beautiful, the arguments, the kisses goodnight. I fell in love with her. For real. All over again, or maybe for the first time. I stopped questioning it after a while. I mean, sure, the first few weeks were terrifying. I had holes in my memory, and my dreams would flicker with shadows of another world, my other roommate, the coffee table, the fight. But eventually those faded. Or maybe I stopped caring. 10 years. I watched my kids grow. I watched gray creep into Lily's hair. I watched my body age in the mirror. I loved that life. It became home. Until the lamp. God, that damn lamp. It was in our bedroom, an old brass thing Lily found at a flea market. It had this frosted glass shade that curved like a flower, with golden etchings that shimmered in the light. She loved it. I hated it. Always said it looked like it belonged in a haunted hotel. One night, I woke up bolt upright in bed. The room was dark, but the lamp, it was on. Except not really. The light was wrong. Like it was glowing inward, like it was pulling in light instead of casting it. I stared at it, confused, and something in my brain just snapped. It was like a rip in reality. The edges of the room folded inward, like origami. I could hear Lily's voice calling my name, but it was distant, underwater. The kids' laughter echoed like it was coming from a tunnel. And then everything collapsed. I opened my eyes. And I was back in my old apartment. Same shitty coffee table. Same roommate staring at me in shock, asking if I was okay. I'd been out for less than 2 minutes. The ambulance hadn't even arrived yet. And I remember screaming. Not in pain. In loss. In grief. Because everything was gone. She was gone. Lily. My kids. My life. 10 years of memories, sensations, emotions ripped away like a tablecloth from under a dinner set. Only the plates didn't stay standing. They shattered. I spent weeks trying to convince myself it was just a coma dream. I Googled neurological explanations. I talked to a therapist. I kept telling myself that brains are weird and trauma is weirder and that none of it was real. But it was. I know it was. Because I remember. I remember how Lily hummed when she cooked. I remember the way Noah had a birthmark shaped like a cloud on his left shoulder. I remember the creak of the 3rd step on our staircase. The smell of cinnamon in our kitchen on Christmas morning. The softness of Ellie's hair as she slept on my chest during movie nights. You can't make that up. You can't dream love like that. And the worst part? The lamp is here too. The exact same one. It showed up on my nightstand a month later. My roommate swears he found it at a thrift store and thought I'd like it. I hadn't told him anything. I hadn't described it. But there it was. Same brass. Same frosted glass. Same damn etchings. I haven't touched it. But sometimes I stare at it. 4 hours. Wondering if maybe, just maybe, it could take me back. Even if it's not real. Even if it's all in my head. I'd give anything, everything, to live in that illusion again. Because that life felt more real than this one ever has. I got arrested wearing Ed Hardy shorts, but that day saved my life. No one believes the rest of the story. I still remember the heat that day, thick, heavy, like it was trying to smother me. I was out in the front yard, mowing the grass in a pair of Ed Hardy shorts that were about 5 years out of style, shirtless, sweat running down my back. If you had asked me what my biggest concern was at that moment, it would have been getting through the yard before the sun completely roasted me. The mower buzzed loudly under my hands, and I was zoned out, halfway through a blunt from earlier, the smell still clinging to me like the regret I hadn't learned to feel yet. Then it happened, so fast it felt like a movie scene that forgot to slow down for dramatic effect. A white sedan screeched to a halt on the curb. Before I could blink, two guys in cargo shorts and sunglasses were on me. I didn't even clock them as cops at first, no badges, no uniforms, just aggression and zip ties. One of them shouted something about resisting. I remember yelling back, "I'm mowing the damn lawn," before they slammed me into the patchy grass. My face crushed against the dirt, mower still humming behind me. They flipped me over and cuffed me like I was El Chapo himself. Neighbors poked their heads out from behind blinds. One lady actually stepped out with her phone filming. I saw her face go pale. She knew me, I used to mow her lawn, too. It wasn't until they pulled out the badge that I realized I wasn't just being roughed up, I was being arrested. I was being watched. I had been watched. Turns out, they'd been investigating local small-time dealers, and I'd been just careless enough, just obvious enough, to end up on their radar. The search was quick. They didn't even go inside first, they checked the shed in the backyard where I kept my tools and stash. A few baggies, a scale, some cash I hadn't had the sense to bank. Nothing major, but enough. Enough for suspicion. Enough to make it clear this wasn't my first rodeo. Enough to justify drug charges. Sitting in the back of the squad car, wrist sore, shorts riding up and stained with grass, it hit me, this was real. I wasn't getting a slap on the wrist. No one was calling my mom and letting me go home. I was 24. An adult. And I was going to jail in a pair of Ed Hardy shorts like it was 2008 and I was on the cover of Jersey Shore, Failure Edition. Jail sucked, obviously. Holding cell, then booking, then the slow march through the system. You don't really think about your life when you're in that fluorescent purgatory, you think about time. How slow it moves. How long it takes to hear anything. How a day can feel like a month. And every minute I spent there, I thought, this can't be the end of my story. It wasn't. By some twist of fate, or maybe because my record was relatively clean and the charges were small time, I got offered drug court. At the time, it felt like a trick. Go through a grueling 12 to 18-month program with regular testing, therapy, court check-ins, and community service, or risk jail. I took it. Begrudgingly. Like I was doing them a favor. But inside, something was cracking. The bravado started to slip. Drug court wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was boot camp for your soul. Weekly meetings, constant P-tests, accountability that came without coddling. I had to show up. I had to talk. I had to be honest, something I hadn't done in a long time. I learned how to sit in a circle and say, "Hi, my name is, and I'm here because I got arrested while mowing my lawn in Ed Hardy shorts." It started as a joke. Then it became a badge of shame. Then, somehow, it became my turning point. One of the counselors, a wiry guy with a sleeve of tattoos and a voice like sandpaper, looked me dead in the eye one day and said, "You've got good instincts, but you're wasting them. You're smart enough to sell poison and make it look clean. Imagine what you could do if you put that same energy into living." That line stuck with me. Haunted me, even. I started taking it seriously. Got clean. Started journaling. Read books I never thought I'd touch. Signed up for a trade class in HVAC work through a local recovery support program. I even started showing up early to the community service sites, not to impress anyone, but because it felt good to not be running from something for once. The day I graduated drug court, I wore a button-up shirt my sister lent me and pants that actually fit. The judge shook my hand and said, "You don't look like the guy we arrested." I smiled. "That guy wore Ed Hardy shorts," I said. Everyone laughed. Now, 3 years later, I'm sober. I'm licensed. I've got a job fixing AC units and heating systems, and a Yelp review that once called me the friendliest HVAC tech in the city. I'm not rich, but I'm not hiding baggies in my lawnmower shed either. I still live in the same house, but the shed holds tools now, real ones, not the kind that ruin lives. And every now and then, when I open my bottom dresser drawer, I see those Ed Hardy shorts. I've kept them. Not to wear, but to remember. That was the day I got tackled by undercover cops, humiliated, and arrested in front of my whole street. It was also the day I got a second chance. A redemption arc I didn't see coming. So yeah, laugh at the shorts. I do. But they're also the reason I'm alive. And free. And finally becoming someone I actually like. I thought my window was down. What happened next had my date crying with laughter face with tears of joy skull. It was one of those mild spring evenings where everything feels just about perfect. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, and the sky was that perfect shade of pink-orange that makes you believe life might just be alright. I had just picked up my date, let's call her Sarah, for our second outing together. I was trying to impress her, obviously. Cleaned out my car, spritzed it with some cologne, maybe too much in hindsight, and even had a playlist queued up with accidental songs I hoped she'd like. Now, here's the thing, my car, a 10-year-old Nissan Altima, has had its quirks for years. One of those quirks? The power windows are moody. Sometimes they go down, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they pretend to go down but don't actually budge. I'd gotten used to it, sort of like how you get used to that one light switch in your house that does absolutely nothing but you still flip it out of habit. So we're driving along, windows down because it's that perfect temperature where air conditioning would just be offensive. Music is playing. Conversation is going great. She's laughing at my jokes, I'm laughing at hers, we're vibing, honestly. Then I notice a mosquito buzzing around the front console, probably trying to hitch a ride or whisper terrible secrets into my ear. I do the classic awkward one-handed swat, eyes still on the road, trying to maintain that illusion of suave control. But it keeps dodging me like it's been trained in evasive maneuvers. That's when I realize something. My passenger side window, Sarah's window, might not be down. And I think to myself, did I roll that window down earlier? Or was that the back one? It looked open. You know how at night, with no glare and no light hitting it just right, you can't really tell if a car window was up or down? That was me. I'm squinting at the side of the car like I'm trying to read tea leaves. There's a breeze coming through, but it's hard to tell where from. At this point, I have a choice. I could just ask her. Or I could reach over and check. But nope. My lizard brain kicked in. And instead of doing either of those very reasonable things, I decided to do what I now consider to be one of the most unintentionally hilarious gestures of my life. I flicked it. Like, with 2 fingers, I flicked the window. Or what I thought was an open window. Now here's the thing about flicking a closed window at high speed with full confidence. It makes a sound. A loud, awkward, unexpected thwack. And the moment that sound echoed in the car, Sarah turned to me in shock, like I had just slapped an invisible ghost. I saw her blink, pause, and then her whole face cracked into the most uncontrollable laugh I have ever witnessed. I mean, she lost it. She folded over in her seat, hugging her stomach, wheezing, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. I was trying to explain myself, I thought it was down. It looked down. But I couldn't even finish the sentence without cracking up. I felt my face go red. I realized how stupid it must have looked. Just me, sitting there, confidently flicking air, only to be met by solid glass like a complete dumbass. She was laughing so hard, she started gasping, "Did you just flick the air? Were you trying to, discipline the window?" I think she said something about how I looked like I was trying to challenge the wind to a duel. It only got worse when I tried to recover from the moment by reaching over and rolling the window down like that would somehow justify what I'd just done. But, of course, it was already down. I had just flicked at nothing. An invisible, non-existent window. I had, in the most literal sense, attempted to assert dominance over thin air. For the rest of the night, any time we hit a red light, she'd look at me with this mischievous grin and go, "Hey, you ought to check if the window's still there," or just make a little flicking motion with her fingers and start giggling all over again. To this day, if I text her something funny, she'll still respond with, "Nothing will beat the window flick." And honestly, I don't think anything ever will. I was the getaway driver at 16, and no one ever found out, until now. I used to think the worst thing that could happen in high school was failing a math test or getting dumped before prom. I never imagined I'd be sweating behind the wheel of a stolen Dodge Hellcat, wondering if the cops were going to burst through my classroom door at any second. This story's been eating away at me for over 2 years. I kept it buried deep, maybe too deep, but I think it's time to tell someone. Even if it's just strangers on the internet. It started in the spring of my sophomore year. I was 16, had just gotten my license, and was desperate to seem cool. You know the type of desperation that makes you say yes to things you don't understand? That was me. I was the quiet kid, average grades, a couple of friends, not a troublemaker. But I knew this guy, Rico, not his real name, who had charisma dripping off him. Varsity football, always had the freshest kicks, girls loved him. And he talked to me. Not just talked, he included me. So when Rico came up to me in the parking lot after school one day and said, "Yo, you wanna do me a favor? Just a quick drive down the block in my cousin's ride. I'll toss you $100, I didn't ask questions." I saw the Hellcat, blacked out, purring like a beast in the afternoon sun. I said yes. The plan was simple, or so I thought. Drive to a strip mall 5 minutes away, park in the alley, wait for him to grab something from a store, and then drive back. That's it. He said it was just some sneakers he was picking up from a guy. Made it sound like a casual thing. Looking back, the way he was glancing over his shoulder, the way he double-checked his hoodie. I should have known. We pull up behind this vape shop, and he hops out, telling me to keep the engine running. I'm in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, heart pounding like I'm doing something dangerous even though I think it's all chill. 5 minutes pass. Then 10. I start getting nervous. Right as I'm about to step out and look for him, he comes flying back around the corner, eyes wide, hoodie half off, clutching something under his jacket. He jumps in the passenger seat, yells, "Go!" I floor it. We didn't talk until we were halfway back to school. He's panting, laughing like it's a joke, and I'm trying not to puke. "Don't worry," he says. "It wasn't nothing serious." Nothing serious turned out to be an armed robbery. 2 guys went in, Rico and someone else, and they hit a pawn shop across from the vape place. Masked up, one had a gun, turned out later it was fake, but still. They grabbed cash and a couple gold chains, then ran. Rico ditched the other guy halfway and had me drive him back. I didn't know any of this at the time. I found out the next morning when the entire school was buzzing with rumors. Someone posted a video from the pawn shop security cam to a local Facebook group. You couldn't see faces, but the car, the Hellcat, was clear as day. My stomach dropped. I barely slept the night before, and now I'm seeing the car I drove in a robbery video that's spreading like wildfire. By 11 a.m., 3 squad cars rolled up to the school. They weren't subtle. Everyone was pressed against windows. People were whispering names. And the scariest part? They didn't come for me. They went straight for a different guy, Jalen, some dude I'd seen Rico hanging with occasionally. Cops cuffed him in the middle of the hallway. Turns out he was the second guy. No one ever mentioned Rico. And I sure as hell wasn't about to raise my hand and volunteer that I was his wheelman. But the tension didn't end there. I spent weeks waiting for a knock at my door. Every siren I heard made my pulse race. I wiped down my car, deleted texts, even avoided Rico. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents, not my best friend, no one. Then, like something out of a Netflix drama, Rico just stopped showing up to school. Gone. No explanation. Rumors flew, moved to Atlanta, locked up quietly, joined the military. But nothing official. And then, almost 7 months later, I'm at Target with my mom buying detergent, and there he is. Rico. Khakis, name tag, stocking shelves in the home goods aisle like it's the most normal thing in the world. I don't think he saw me. I ducked and left the store. My mom asked me why I looked like I saw a ghost. So what really happened? I don't know. Maybe someone in his family had connections. Maybe Jalen took the fall for both of them. Maybe Rico cut a deal and kept his name clean. All I know is, I helped someone commit a felony and walked away untouched. And it haunts me. I think about it all the time. What if someone had gotten hurt? What if we'd crashed while speeding away? What if the cops had picked up the footage, found my face, and knocked on my front door? I think the worst part is how easy it was. One yes to the wrong person. One ride. One bad decision. And I've lived in fear ever since, not because I'm scared of getting caught now, but because I saw how thin the line is between good kid and criminal record. So yeah. That was the moment I became a getaway driver at 16. And no one ever found out. Until now.
I thought he was just a gamer friend. Until he showed up in my town. Let me start by saying I love gaming. I'm not a streamer or anything big, but I've been playing since I was a kid and it's how I decompress after long days. Last summer, I got really into a new MOBA game, think League of Legends type, and ended up joining a Discord server full of players from all over. That's where I met Gabriel. He went by Void Knight and was chill at first. Funny, even. He'd drop into voice chat often and slowly we started doing more and more. He wasn't creepy or flirty, which I appreciated as a teenage girl in gaming spaces, those can get gross fast. Gabriel was maybe 2 or 3 years older than me, lived in another state, and honestly just seemed like a big brother type. He was always around, always down to game. We started texting. Then sending memes. Then talking about life. I won't lie, I started to consider him a close friend. He made me laugh and seemed to get me more than most people IRL. It was weirdly validating. I never gave him my address or anything super personal, just basic stuff, my first name, city, and the fact that I'd just turned 17. He told me he was 20, in college, studying computer science. Seemed harmless. Things changed after the server announced an IRL meetup. A few of us were going to be in the same state for a gaming convention and one of the older members, an actual adult, offered to host a party after. At first, I wasn't planning to go. But then Gabriel said he'd be there and somehow. I felt safer knowing someone I knew would be too. Big mistake. The party was in this big rented house with tons of people, snacks, music, the usual. I finally met Gabriel in person. He looked like his pics, sure, but he was off. He kept staring. Like, even when I wasn't talking, I could feel his eyes on me. We talked for maybe 5 minutes total, but he hovered around like I was the only person there. That night he started texting differently, shorter, pushier. He wanted to hang out alone the next day. I made up an excuse. He said, I came here for you, you know. That was the first red flag I couldn't ignore. After the event, I backed off. I stopped replying as much, stopped gaming with him, and eventually just ghosted him. A week later, he messaged me a long wall of text saying how betrayed he felt, how fake people were, how I led him on. I blocked him. A few days passed. Then things got scary. Someone tried to log into my Steam account. Then my Discord. I got password reset emails from platforms I hadn't touched in months. My Instagram DMs filled up with creepy burner accounts all asking the same thing, why did you leave? One night, I opened a message from a brand new account that just said, nice red hoodie. Still wearing it today? I was wearing one. In my house. Alone. I froze. I checked my windows, my locks. Nothing. But the next morning, I found a folded note wedged into our mailbox with my first name scribbled on it. It just said, let's talk. That's when I lost it. I told my parents everything. The party, Gabriel, the online stuff, all of it. They called the police, but with no actual threat or harm done, yet, they couldn't really do anything. I wiped my accounts, changed passwords, nuked my socials. I stayed home for 2 weeks straight. And then, I saw him. At the grocery store, across the parking lot. I swear it was him. Same hoodie from the party. Same hair. He didn't try to come closer. He just stood there watching me get into the car. That's when it hit me, he was in my town. Hundreds of miles away from where he should have been. My dad called the police again. This time they took it seriously. Turns out he had driven from out of state. They found a few weird things in his car when they stopped him, a printed map of my neighborhood, disposable gloves, a knife. The cops didn't tell us much more, but he was taken in for questioning and warned to stay away. I never heard from him again. At least, not directly. But every so often, I'll get a weird friend request or a gaming invite from some no-name account. The usernames feel familiar in a way I can't explain. Just close enough to his old tags to make me wonder. I don't game publicly anymore. I changed my handle. I don't use my name online. I keep everything private. You hear horror stories about weirdos online, but it always feels distant, until it's on your doorstep. Gabriel, if you're still out there reading this, let's not meet again.